Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new, please consider subscribing, and I am glad to have you at the channel. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, there is a new trial that starts on Monday. As you know, I recap live trials. This trial is scheduled to begin at 1 o'clock on Monday with jury selections. Now, they have pre selected a panel to choose from, and they've given them some survey questions because this case that starts Monday had a lot of publicity. This comes from Las Vegas, Nevada. So what went down? Stay tuned. We're going to hear all about it. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. So, this is the story of Jeff Gurman. He was the victim in this case. He was a 69-year-old journalist from Las Vegas who had worked for over 20 years for the Review Journal, Las Vegas Review Journal. And he specialized in corruption, political corruption, government corruption, organized crime. I mean, this is Vegas. This is the place to do it. So, Jeff Gurman was born on August 23rd, 1953, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He attended Marquette University and graduated with a master's degree in journalism. So, right out of school, he wrote for the Las Vegas Sun. And that's when, after 20 years, he went to the Review Journal. But he is known for covering famous crime boss cases. He's written a book. He had a podcast called Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas. His book was called Sin City, The Death of a Las Vegas Casino Boss. This was the story of this guy that owned the Horseshoe Casino in downtown Las Vegas, Old Town, on Fremont Street. I don't think it was called the Horseshoe. I don't think it's open anymore. But this was a casino that was known for its gambling. Like, the limits on a craps table in this casino was $10,000. Yeah. Limits or minimum. I don't know if that was a limit or a minimum. I don't know. But anyway, he wrote this book about this guy. So what happened to this guy? So he is on vacation. He goes out one day. He has his home in Las Vegas Valley. He comes back home. It's midday, mid-afternoon, and he goes into the house, and a day later, September 3rd, that was September 2nd, September 3rd, a neighbor calls because he has found his body. Listen to this call.
911 emergency for BL 1965. Do you need police, fire, and medical?
I have a neighbor across the street from me, and he's laying in the side yard. I believe he's dead. He's got blood over him.
Yeah, found his body. And they think that, they surmise that the murder happened the day before that his body was found. Now, I expect we're going to hear from the medical examiner who's going to give an opinion as to whether, had he been found quicker, he would have survived. Was there a chance to save his life? I'm sure that's something we're going to hear during the testimony next week. Jeff Gurman had been stabbed 7 times, 4 times in the neck and 3 times in the torso. So now police are baffled. Who did this guy piss off? He's written all these articles in the last 44 years. So they get a list of suspects from the Review Journal. They here's people that could be mad at him. And one of the people on this list is a man named Robert Tellis. I'm going to tell you about Robert here soon. So they do, their usual police investigation. They canvass the neighborhood and they get surveillance footage of this man walking by the house, and he's wearing a pair of jeans. Now, keep in mind, this is September 3rd or 2nd when the murder occurred, when the surveillance footage is picked up. He's wearing he looks like the guy that does my lawn. Well, I do my lawn. The guy that does other people's lawns that can afford to hire him because he doesn't want to get sunburned, and he's got this big sombrero, gardening hat, for lack of a better word. So this is what they've got on him. And in the surveillance footage, they see a vehicle, a Yukon Denali, and it's maroon. So they have a press conference and they show the footage. They show the footage of the man, they show the footage of the vehicle, and the people at the Review Journal. First, I'm going to show you the footage. Here is the footage. Yeah.
You could see in the surveillance video from across the street that someone, an assailant, came into his yard, went to the left side of his house, went inside the gate, shut the gate.
In the video, you can kind of see a struggle.
Their main suspect, the people back at the Review Journal, was Robert Tellis, because he was in the midst of writing his 5th article about this guy who was a Democratic politician in Vegas. So they Google his house, Robert Tellis's house, and lo and behold, parked in front of his house is a Yukon Denali, maroon, matches the suspect vehicle. So the police go over to Robert Tellis's home. They pick him up for questioning, and he is later released that day. So who is Robert Tellis? Let's talk about Mr. Tellis. Robert Tellis was, he's 47 years old. He was 45 years old at the time. And he went to law school at UNLV. And where he was like president of his class, the big man on campus, that kind of thing. When he got done with law school, he opened his own law firm, and he specialized in probate, wills, trust, probate, that kind of thing. So he runs for political office, and he gets the job of Clark County Public Administrator. So what the heck is a public administrator? And I do want to show you a picture of that guy. Yeah. In fact, this is the last picture of this guy with the victim. I think maybe he was interviewing him or something. I don't know. Anyway, so Robert is married. He's got 3 kids. Here's a picture of him, a picture of his wife and kids. So he takes office. He's elected public administrator. Oh, I was going to tell you what public administrator was. Public administrator is where it aligns closely with the kind of law he practiced. This is where people die without a will or any heirs, and their job is to find people to take this stuff, houses, cars, all jewelry, guns, all kinds of stuff that goes into the possession of the public administrator until someone can be found that's an heir or a possible heir to the stuff that they have. So he was being investigated and is still being investigated for possible bribery related to a house flipping scheme that he had going out of this office. He took office in 2019, and his office ran until January of 2023. So during his time in this office, like from the day he walked in, coworkers described him as just the worst boss they ever had. Oh my God. I want to read to you some of the articles that were written by Jeff Gorman about Robert Ellis. So the first article was entitled "County Office in Turmoil with Secret Video and Claims of Bullying Hostility." This was published May 16th, 2022. The Clark County Public Administrator's Office has been mired in turmoil and internal dissension over the past 2 years, with allegations of emotional stress, bullying, and favoritism leading to secret videotaping of the boss and a coworker outside the office. A half dozen Current and former employees interviewed by the Review Journal are alleging the hostile work environment was fueled by the elected administrator of the office, Robert Tellis, carrying on an inappropriate relationship with a staffer that has harmed the office ability to deal with the public and overseeing the states of those who have died. So, like when he walked in this office, he would not allow the women in this office. I didn't get the impression that there were any men, but he would not allow the workers in this office to talk to each other. And if they did, they got into big trouble. And he would sneak off all the time to have an affair with this woman. And he was bullying these people. This woman who actually worked inside of there's a for lack of a better term, a cage inside this office where they kept a lot of the valuables stuff. She was afraid for her life because he would corner her inside this cage. I mean, he was a scary person to work for. And they kept complaining to Human Resources and the Office of Diversity, and they were being told, there's nothing we can do. He's an elected official, which is bull. That's bull crap.
There was an instance where he got in my face and, you know, he's yelling and I'm sort of backed up against the cage door.
He was trying to physically intimidate you.
Yes. Yes. He would bring his chairs up really close and demand that you really pay attention and look him in the eye while he told you horrible things.
She never talked to anyone in the office, a bizarre comment considering his no talking rule.
And he goes, if you keep going down this road, you're going to be like our cases and you're just going to die alone and nobody's going to find you. And I sat there and cried. And then after that, it's hard to admit, then I started thinking the best thing I could do would be to sacrifice myself for the girls. And I had actually picked out a place that I was going to hang myself in the vault in view of the door because he would always come by and make sure I was working. And I thought, this will be good. If they have to find me this way, then the county will have to do something.
But the real question is any of this going to come into the trial? Because right now there is a pending motion to keep all of this out as under the, that routine 403 objection that it's more probative than how do you say it? More prejudicial than probative, that it's evidence of prior bad acts that don't have anything to do with what's alleged here, which is the murder. But I have a feeling it is going to come in because what these women did was they went and they found, first of all, they videotaped him. They kept following him because they needed to get something on him. So they kept following him and this office coworker to this mall parking lot. And finally, one day they videotaped them. They each would drive their separate vehicles, and then one would get out and get in. They both get into the back seat of another vehicle.
It was so unbelievable, and it just took a moment to...
And both are maintaining that this was, they were just confidants, that, she said, oh, I just wanted to be able to see his face when we talked, which is so silly. It's just ridiculous. Why on earth would you need to get in the backseat of a vehicle in the shopping center parking lot? Which gives me flashbacks of that trial where the woman was meeting in the Home Depot parking lot with her lover. Anyway, wrong story. Anyway, here's a second article that he wrote. In a rare move, consultant hired to resolve turmoil in the county office. This was May 26th of 2022. So a couple weeks later. In a rare move, top county clerk managers have hired a former coroner to tackle friction in the public administrator's office after multiple claims of bullying and favoritism. So obviously, in the response to his first article, they hired this guy to come in and clean house. Michael Murphy was brought in to ease the turmoil following a Review Journal story revealing hostile workplace complaints against Public Administrator Robert Tellis. Co-workers accused Tellis of carrying on inappropriate relationship with a staffer, including secretly videotaping Tellis in the backseat of a staffer's car. Tellis, who is running for re-election, has denied the allegations and blamed the upheaval on a handful of old-timers. Okay. Then the next article is June 18th, 2022. Embattled county official losing re-election bid post angry letter. So he was running for re-election, and one of those women that worked with him in the office, she ran for his office and she won the election. So the re-election of embattled Clark County Public Administrator Robert Tellis is in jeopardy after a lackluster showing in his primary battle with two Democratic challengers, including his top assistant. Tellis' lagging numbers follow a Review Journal investigation last month that uncovered an office in turmoil and claims of bullying, retaliation, and inappropriate relationship between Tellis and a staffer. Then the last article was embattled county official concedes the race, so he lost, and remains combative. Amid continued office unrest, embattled Clark County Public Administrator Robert Tellis has conceded a close Democratic primary race to his top deputy. At this point, I do believe I will lose this race, and I'm looking forward to going back to practice of probate law where I can continue to help families, Tellis wrote in a statement of his campaign website. Oh, okay. So he was in the midst of writing another article about this man. Now, none of this would give anybody pause like, oh, that's a reason to kill him. No, I don't think so. Unless the current investigation about bribery and corruption turns out to be true. In any case, the police release him after questioning him on September 3rd, the day after the murder. Well, actually, this is September 7th, 4 days after the body is discovered. They question him, they release him. Then, while they were questioning him, they had a search warrant and they were searching his house. So you are not going to believe what they found in his house. First of all, a garment bag, very similar to the one that this guy in the surveillance footage was carrying, a pair of sneakers matching the ones that were worn in the video, a straw hat, but it was all cut up. Yeah. So they take a DNA sample while he's being questioned, and then, like I said, they release him and he goes back home. But not before they take his clothing, because he was wearing jeans and a shirt. I don't know. They take his clothing because they want to test that stuff too, even though this is 4 days later. So he goes back home and he's mobbed by reporters, So he goes in his house, and later on the police, because they've gathered all this stuff, after finding out everything that was in his home, they go get an arrest warrant and they go back to arrest him. And he barricades himself in the house, won't come out. And he's threatening to hurt himself. And they believe that he, and I think he did cut himself at some point. So at this point, they call the SWAT team. And the SWAT team comes, they get to him. They wanted to get to him before he killed himself, goes out the easy way, right? So they take him out in an ambulance, take him to the hospital. He gets cleared. He's booked into the jail. He has never been released. He was been held on no bond for the murder of Jeff Garman. Sorry, couldn't remember his name. I have so many names in my head. So that is where we're at. Now, getting to this trial has been difficult, to say the least, because this I don't know if it was the state or the defense. Somebody wanted to find out what was on Robert or Jeff Garman's computer against Robert. You know, who were his sources? They wanted the sources. And it went all the way up to the Supreme Court because there's a law that says you can't have a reporter's sources. But they were arguing that, well, he's dead, so we can have them. And it went all the way up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said no. Well, the the Nevada Supreme Court said, no, you can't have them. You can't have them. It doesn't matter that he's dead. He's not giving up his sources. So the other thing they want to do is they want to look at his computer and see what else other information is on there. But because the sources are on there, there's confidential stuff on that computer. They can only have that computer for in-camera inspection. Like it has to be in front of a judge. There has to be other people. And I think that's one of the things that's going to be going on Monday morning is there's some people, there's an expert that wants to look at some of the stuff on Jeff Garman's computer, a defense expert. But they're not allowed to look at who the sources are. Now, 3 of the sources were women that worked in that public administrator office, but they've already come forward. Everybody knows that they're a source, but he had other sources, I'm sure. So not allowed to lay those out. So it's going to be a very, very interesting trial as far as what's going to come in, what's not going to come in. He is claiming, so he's gone through 2-3 sets of attorneys. At one point, he asked to represent himself because, you know, he's a lawyer, and the judge allowed it. But apparently now he's got attorneys again. So I guess he changed his mind. Yes. Interesting, huh? So they had to wait for this thing to make its way through the Supreme Court. He's firing. I guess this is a tactic they teach you when you go to jail. Fire your first 3 sets of attorneys, okay? And then say you want to represent yourself and then change your mind. It's all stall tactics. So he is claiming, because at the point that he was representing himself, he was doing a lot of talking to the media. And he is claiming he is being framed. And they're like, oh, I forgot the most important detail that's going to come in against him. Jeff Garman, this guy was a smart guy. I mean, I don't know if he knew he was going to lose his life that day, but he managed to get DNA of Robert Tellis under his fingernails. So one of the CBS reporters that interviewed him for there's a 48-hour special on it, interviewed him, said, this is overwhelming. I mean, how did somebody plant DNA under his fingernails? And he's like, that's all going to be explained. Really? Okay. But the stuff in your, it's all going to be explained. He was framed. Planted. Evidence was planted. That's what he's saying. So this is going to be a fun one. I will keep you posted. I don't know how long it's going to take them to pick a jury, but yeah. So we'll follow the evidence as it comes out during trial. Have a great, I keep thinking it's Friday. It's only Thursday. Have a great Thursday. I'll see you tomorrow in Crafting and Crime Daily. Bye, everybody.